Councilman Steve Shute is unable to join us this evening, but we do have more. So, we will start. We have no presentations. We do have a public hearing. Public hearing number 1. Hold a public hearing to receive public comment on the results of the dual brand hotel project cost-benefit analysis and granting of exemption from ad valorem taxes. Do I hear a motion to open the public hearing?
Second.
Motion McNear. Second Deaton. We open the public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Sorry. Public hearing is open. If you'd like to come forward, welcome.
All right. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tyler Ellsworth with QTAC Rock, the city's bond counsel. We have a series of proceedings on your agenda this evening that relate to this dual brand hotel. And so we have this public hearing specifically on the IRB property tax abatement first. We have a public hearing next on the community improvement district. During that second public hearing that follows this one, I've requested that the developer provide you a brief overview of the project. And then later on, under new business, you'll consider a resolution of intent for the IRBs and an ordinance that puts the CID in place and approves a development agreement. So just wanted to outline all that for you at the start. With respect to the project itself, as you'll hear shortly, it's proposed to be a dual branded project. So half of the hotel will be a Staybridge Suites, half will be a Holiday Inn Express. It's my understanding that this is the first of its kind in the country, so that's kind of exciting to have right here in Gardner. It will go just southwest of 175th and Clare, and the incentives that are being offered and are the subject of the development agreement here are IRBs for property tax abatement and sales tax exemption, and also a community improvement district that levies special assessments, not in the traditional sense, but in the amount of $5 per hotel room night that's sold in the district during a 20-year term. So that's sort of a general overview of what we're doing, what the deal is, what we're talking about tonight. With respect to this public hearing, there's a cost-benefit analysis that's been prepared by a consultant that looks at the property tax abatement that's provided to the hotel over a 10-year term. The way that property tax abatement is structured is that it's a 75% abatement in the first 2 years, a 50% abatement in years 3 through 10. The CBA, the cost benefit analysis, was in your packet. I'm not going to read it here into the record, but suffice it to say that the benefit to cost ratio for each of the taxing jurisdictions that were included in that CBA were positive. Typically, you want to have a benefit to cost ratio of at least 1.3 to 1. And for all the taxing jurisdictions, the city, the county, the state, the school district, they all exceeded that 1.3 to 1 target benchmark. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions, but those are my remarks regarding the property tax abatement.
If there's anyone who'd like to come forward as part of the public hearing? Seeing no one coming forward, is there a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Motion Deaton, second McNear. We close the public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Public hearing is closed. Public hearing number 2, hold a public hearing on the proposed community improvement district dual brand hotel project. Is there a motion to open public hearing?
So moved.
Motion McNear. We open the public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstained? Public hearing number 2 is open.
All right, so as I mentioned, this community improvement district is structured as special assessments levied in the amount of $5 per hotel room night sold in the district for 20 years. 3 of every $5 will go to the developer to reimburse certain costs of the project. 2 of those $5 will go to the city and actually be used to pay the costs of certain street improvements. In particular, we know that with this development and others coming, there's a lot of work to be done at 175th and Clare in that vicinity. And so the idea is that part of the dollars collected here will be put back into that public infrastructure. So that's at a high level how the community improvement district will function. And what I'd like to do is invite Kirk Peterson, the developers council, up to provide you a brief presentation on the project itself.
Thank
Mayor and Council, good evening. Kurt Peterson, 900 West 48th Place, Kansas City, Missouri, here on behalf of the applicant. Have a very brief presentation, as Tyler said, just to make sure, even though y'all have heard a lot about this project, it's always nice at the public hearing that there's some slides that are put into the record and you can hear from the applicant or the applicant's representative. So with that, the very brief outline, we'll just have 4 points, talking about the applicant, the proposed project, the public incentives, which Tyler's always good about summarizing up front, and I'll do the same, and then just a little bit about what the taxpayers care about, right? The constituents, what's the value proposition? Why are we considering this? So first, the applicant is very specifically, the entity is Gardner Hotel LLC, which will be the entity that's used for this specific project, but the parent, the owner of that entity, the going concern is actually Casey Galaxy. They have over 25 years of experience in both retail and specifically hospitality development operations, and just a lot of success. We could put a couple images below, projects they've done. The proposed project is not far from here, just on the other side of the highway, 175th Street and Clare, in the overall Grata master development that many of us spent a lot of time working on. This will activate that front piece of commercial property in the Grata development right near that C-store, which is what you see at New Trails there at 175th, and the project site is labeled as such. That's where the hotel will go. It's just over 3 acres. The project itself will be a dual brand, as Tyler said, Staybridge and Holiday Inn Express. And I have to say this, I say this every project I ever do that has a Staybridge, and I don't get a kickback. It's such a great family hotel. I'm serious. I just stayed at one over the weekend with three of the 5 kids. It'll be so good to have in town if you haven't ever stayed at a Staybridge. Holiday Inn Express is great, more for the business traveler or what have you, but it's just a great family hotel when you got a lot of kids or a lot of people. Approximately 130 rooms in the hotel, and Tyler was almost exactly right. I just want to clarify it because I'm just as excited. He said first in the country. That's almost true. The two that we know about, they're both in urban environments. So what he was saying was this is the first one in a non-urban environment. That is true. There's one, I think, in Houston and in the Boston area. So we're in good company in terms of who could get this, cutting edge dual brand product. And we gave you the state of the elevations as we have them right now with the franchisor, which you have to get approved. So that's where we're at right now. We'll go through this official city process, of course, to have these approved in due course here. The public incentives, so as Tyler said, I won't spend too much time on this, but just for the public record, again, consist of community improvement district with that additional room night charge split between the city and between the development, and then also the industrial revenue bonds providing a predictable pilot or tax abatement for 10 years, and then sales tax exemption. So these slides, I'll just run past your eyes, are saying just that, just as Tyler summarized. And then lastly, my favorite part, especially with projects like this, they don't all always turn out like this with the cost-benefit analysis, but the numbers honestly are something to be proud of, staggering, because this is both drawing this great project, but it's something that you can just with confidence tell your constituents is a really good financial proposition for the city. So I'll actually give you order of magnitude without getting too deep into numbers. Just property taxes are obvious during the pilot period, but really we like to look when there's a 10-year payment in lieu of tax pilot like this. We like to back up and say, okay, that's fine. But especially with a city that has a long-term view, look at a 20-year picture. It's the 10-year during the pilot period, but also after that. And the dollars we're talking about here are really significant before you even get into looking at the next, which is the sales tax will be generated, which all goes to the city, right? The city's full levy. And then the transient guest tax revenues. And when you look at those together, again, I said I was going to give you order of magnitude. We're talking over 20 years, we're talking multiple millions of dollars to the city, and several times that we're talking about the transient guest tax. So we're talking, when I get, again, excited, there's massive dollars that as this gets built with the incentives in place that end up flowing to the city. The third item on the value proposition slide is job creation. That speaks for itself. Anytime you have a $20+ million hotel, you're gonna have construction jobs and all the commerce that goes on around that. And then also just the long-term jobs that are associated with having another business like this in the city. And then lastly, the CID special assessments, that is the $2 of the $5 on every room night, is, again, over $1 million that would go to the city's public infrastructure work on 175th Street. So that is a quick, hopefully concise, but meaty recap of what's being proposed tonight. And an hour later, I'd be happy to answer anybody's questions if you end up having some.
All right, thanks so much, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Does anyone else would like to come forward? Is there a motion then to close the public hearing?
So moved. Second.
Motion McNear, second Deaton, we close the public hearing, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, abstained, public hearing is closed. All right, we'll move to public comments. Members of the public, welcome to use this time to make comments about city matters or items on the agenda that are not part of the previous public hearing. If you wish to come forward, please limit your comments to 5 minutes or less. There's a time clock on your left. Please state your name and address for the record. The podium is now open. Come forward. Okay. We will move to consent agenda. Is there an item on the consent agenda council would like to remove? A motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second. Motion Deaton, second Baldwin. We approve the consent agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstained? Consent agenda passes. No planning and zoning consent. We'll move to committee recommendations. Number 1, consider adopting ordinance approving a rezoning from RUR County Rural District to MP2 Planned General District for potential industrial development of 186.21 acres located at the northeast corner of the intersection of 175th and Clare Road. Mr. Knopping.
Mayor, members of council, good evening. This has been a fairly fast-moving project. As you noted in the CAF, this property was annexed in December of last year, so just a couple of months ago. In January, on January 27th, the Planning Commission held a public hearing in regard to the rezoning as well as the preliminary development plan and plat as it was proposed and is presented in your packet. At that public hearing, no one came up from the public to speak. The staff report outlined a number of conditions which are in the report and also are considered as part of the ordinance that's before you tonight. This development has approximately 8 warehouse buildings identified with a total square footage of around 2.8 million square feet. And the buildings are ranging from about 100,000 square feet to 500,000 square feet in size. So that is the overall picture of the property. The first phase final plat was also considered as well as final plan. The first phase is approximately 25 acres on the northeast corner of 175th and Clare. As part of that, the building that's presented is approximately 470,000 square feet. Before you tonight is the staff report and recommendation as well as the Planning Commission's recommendation on the preliminary aspects of this, the rezoning and preliminary development plan and plat, which is what the ordinance addressed. We will also need a second motion tonight for the final plat, which is the dedication and the acceptance of the dedication of easements and right-of-way. The applicant does have representatives here tonight if you have questions regarding the development.
Thank you, Dave. Is there any public comment for new business? I'm sorry, for committee recommendation number 1? Council, any questions, comments? Do I hear a motion?
Second.
Motion Deaton, second McNear. We accept the recommendation of the Planning Commission and approve ordinance number 2825, an ordinance changing the zoning classification or districts of certain lands located in the city of Gardner, Kansas, under the authority granted by Title 17 of the Municipal Code of the city of Gardner, Kansas. City Clerk?
Councilmember McNair.
Yes.
Councilmember Baldwin.
Yes.
Councilmember Deaton.
Yes.
Councilmember Wade.
Yes.
Ordinance number 2825 passes.
And then the second motion, which was not outlined in the CAF but does need to be considered here, is to accept the dedication of easements and right-of-ways as shown on the final plat for phase 1 of the development.
So moved.
Yes, is there a motion? Second. Motion Deaton, second Baldwin. Can you repeat all that, what you just said?
Oh, you want me to repeat it?
Well, just,
I can, yes, I'll repeat that. Motion to accept the dedication of easements and right-of-ways as shown on the final plat for phase 1 of the development.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mhm.
Or I mean, just a, okay.
Yep.
Passes. Thank you, Dave. Okay, no old business, go to new business. New business item number 1, consider a resolution determining the intent of the city of Gardner, Kansas to issue its taxable industrial revenue bonds in one or more series in an aggregate amount not to exceed $23 million to pay the cost of acquiring, constructing, equipping, and furnishing a dual-brand hotel within the city, dual-brand hotel project. Mr. Wolf.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. Earlier tonight, you heard a presentation from Tyler Ellsworth at Kutak Rock, or Bond Council, and also the Developers Council. They gave a great overview of both this agenda item and the next one. The only thing I want to add, just to clarify, when people hear bonds, I just want to make sure people at home realize when we're talking about industrial revenue bonds, these are not general obligations of the city. They don't constitute a pledge of full faith and credit. They're not payable in any manner of taxation. It is staff's recommendation that you adopt the proposed resolution.
Is there any public comment for new business item number 1? Council, do you have any questions? Comments? Okay. Is there a motion for new business item number 1?
So moved.
Second.
Motion McNair, second Deaton. We adopt resolution 2163, a resolution determining the intent of the city of Gardner, Kansas to issue its taxable industrial revenue bonds in one or more series in an aggregate amount not to exceed $23 million to pay the cost of acquiring, constructing, equipping, and a dual-brand hotel within the city dual-brand hotel project. City Clerk.
Councilmember McNair.
Yes.
Councilmember Baldwin.
Yes.
Councilmember Deaton.
Yes.
Councilmember Weed.
Yes.
Resolution 2163 passes. New business item number 2, consider adopting an ordinance authorizing the creation of the dual-brand hotel community improvement district in the city of Gardner, Kansas, authorizing a community improvement district special assessment to be collected within such district, and authorizing a development agreement.
As you heard earlier tonight, Gardner Hotel LLC has applied for the use of a community improvement district. This is kind of a unique one where we're using special assessments instead of the usual sales tax. It's $5 per hotel room night sold, with $2 going towards public improvements. It's a 20-year CID, and it has a CID cap of $3.3 million. The staff's recommendation that you adopt proposed ordinance.
Okay, is there any public comment? New business item number 2. Council, do you have any questions? Do I hear a motion for new business item number 2?
So moved.
Second.
Motion Deaton, second Baldwin. We adopt ordinance number 2826, authorizing the creation of the Dual Brand Hotel Community Improvement District in the city of Gardner, Kansas, authorizing a Community Improvement District special assessment to be collected within such district, and authorizing a development agreement.
Councilmember Deaton.
Yes.
Councilmember Weed.
Yes.
Councilmember McNair.
Yes.
Councilmember Baldwin.
Yes.
Ordinance number 2826 passes. Thank you, Matt. New business item number 3, consider a recommendation to approve a power purchase agreement, PPA, extension between KMEA and Grand River Dam Authority, GRDA. Mr. Collins.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. I have a presentation.
You can send me a
Okay. So,
Yes, you did, hold on. You sent it to me last week.
Rolled with that really well, Collins.
He's like, all right.
well, the presentation's in my head, so I can explain it somehow. Okay,
There
great.
you are. Sorry.
It's okay. So, for those who are not familiar with the GRDA PPA, in 2005, the city signed an agreement with KMEA for a power purchase agreement with GRDA. It was for 21 years. The terms were capacity 9 megawatts June through September, 6.75 megawatts October through May. Energy was 24/7, 20-year agreement. The cost was capacity 10.45 kilowatt month is approximately $945,000 a year. The energy at 40 megawatts is about, including the PCA, is about 2.6 million. KMA also charges a fee, 11,000 a month, which is about 129,000 a year. The average annual cost is 3.7. Now, what is the advantage of a PPA? One is to reduce energy costs, hedge against energy prices increases, or avoid upfront capital cost. Disadvantage is that we may be paying more now than in the future. So looking at the table shows your 1 year cost versus 25 years. So 1 year is about 3.7 million. At the end of the 25 years, the city will have paid 92 million, 92.5 million. The master plan, which was presented back in June, shows some alternatives to the GRPPA. And on this graph, we're trying to show that if you look at the annual cost dollars per kilowatt year, the upgrade on GT2 is the cheapest at $95, followed by the CT1, 146. Then on the solar, we already made a decision to go with Nexera, so those options are out. But if you look at the GRDA PPA, it's $462. Now, if we buy the same energy from the market, it's about $355. Any questions? So, SPP has a integrated markets. How does it work? Gardner, as a utility through KMEA, will tell SPP, I have 20 megawatts, and I have 20 megawatts in resources. So on the day-ahead market, which is on the market today for tomorrow, KMA will tell them, I need, let's say, 30 megawatts. And then GRDA will give us a price, which is a day-ahead price. So tomorrow, if we need to buy or sell our energy, we'll have to pay real-time price. KMA said that day-ahead price is more secure, less volatile, and I'll show you some graphs that shows the opposite. However, the day-ahead is unpredictable. The real-time is unpredictable. It can go up during the winter. The polar vortex Uri went up to 8,000 megawatts an hour. So there is that risk. And the settlement process at the end of the day, tomorrow, we will pay for the energy we purchase, and then we'll get credit from the energy from the PPAs. So we usually pay more than what we get from credits. So I did a comparison going to 2020. This is GRDA versus the SPP day-ahead market. If you will see, the only years that we were on red, that means that we pay more, that the day-ahead was more expensive than GRDA was in 2021, which was the Winter Storm Uri, and there was a slightly increase in 2022. When I was doing this presentation a few weeks ago, I was not expecting another polar vortex to be here this week. So that kind of makes this kind of a moot point. But just looking at the numbers, GRDA total energy costs for the 5 years is 11.7 million. SPPA was 11.3. So actually, if we have purchased the energy through SPP, we would have been ahead $341,000. Now, but we only pay energy, we also pay the capacity I mentioned before. So if we look at the energy plus demand, GRDA versus SPP day ahead, there's a difference of $5 million. I mean, that we could have saved $5 million, 5.7. And if we look at the real time, we could have saved $7.8 million. This is a graph showing the energy costs, GRDA, SPP, day ahead, and real time. As you will see, the real time has been less than the day ahead and the SPP. If you look at your energy and demand costs, the difference is the same. Real time is lower, followed by your day ahead and then GRDA. Any questions? So the conclusion is that day ahead market has outperformed GRDA PPA except in 2021 and slightly was in 2022. The real-time market outperformed both the day ahead and the PPA, GRDA PPA, even in 2021. The electric master plan offers alternatives to a GRDA PPA extension when it comes to paper capacity. Another consideration, and there's a lot of numbers here, but if you look at this is option A, this is if we go with 4.5 megawatts from GRDA. If you look at the bottom, you have your total accredited capacity, which is 59.4. So you subtract that from your system capacity requirement, which is 47 for 2022, you have a 12.4 excess demand. So we want to be on the black and not on the red. So even at 4.5, we will have enough capacity that we can buy it in the day-ahead market. Questions? Now let's look at the option B. Let's see if let's say we go with 9 megawatts. Over here, you'll see that your excess capacity is good all the way up to 2036. On 2037, you're required to purchase additional capacity. And the last option, Marshall, that was a 15-year contract. It will expire in 2035. So this one includes Marshall and GRDA 9. And you will see we have excess capacity all the way up to 2037. When I presented this to the UAC, they had to table it, and they came back the following meeting saying that due to the growth we're having in Gardner, they felt that going with the 9 megawatts was the right recommendation. Questions? So right now there's an option going with a 4.5 or going with a 9. The UAC recommends going with the 9 megawatts.
We can open it up to public comment first. If there's any comment. Okay, council. Marks.
This really comes down to what our appetite is for the uncertainty of the market, and do we want to have prepaid or not?
Correct.
So, obviously, looking at this last slide, you want that number to be basically 0.0, ideally. You don't want to pay extra and you don't want to be under. So, I can see why the UAC went with the 9 because it pushes you all the way out for but of course, we're paying heavily for it. I'm half tempted to say that it's not worth that, and it's almost a little bit too conservative in the sense that the market may be our friend. Granted, there's no way to predict what the market will be over the next 10 years.
The other thing that I'd like to get an understanding of is, how do you see the growth curve coming towards our demand?
So right now, you look at the peak demand for all three options, is about 2.3% increase every year.
Is that realistic? What if we start attracting businesses, or you have a major influx of people?
So this is the extreme weather. This is only looking at a hot summer day.
Okay,
Now, the projections that Kiewit did, you had a high, base, and low. The high is pretty much the same as the extreme weather. And it takes into account future growth, population growth. But it's very similar to this one, which is, I think, the extreme.
So essentially, with the 9, we're paying more, but we're more guaranteed. If we need more than, if we went 4.5, if we needed more, we just pay
For
much higher costs.
well, potentially much lower.
But historically, it shows that even the real-time market has been less than either of the other two options.
Right, so up until 2021, 2022, without the polar vortex, you would look at this and say, why are we even talking about it? Right? And then you throw that polar vortex in there and you go, whoa, sure was nice that we had excess there, right? So, again, it's going to be how much our appetite is for getting as close to zero down there as possible.
well, another thing to consider, Mark, is we're going into 4 or 5 days of records by double digits cold. What would happen if the opposite happened in the summer, where we had 5 or 6 days of record 100+ heat? I think that'd probably be worse for us than the winter.
Yeah,
pro-
summer is worse for us than winter, because the winter is simply subsidized by gas.
Right, and that's what I'm saying, is if we had a week or 10 days of 100+ degree temperatures. we're-
Yeah, but the one thing to remember is this is mostly a conversation about capacity and demand, not energy. And residential usage is energy, not demand.
Right,
So unless we have a whole lot of industrial that comes in that needs that
right,
demand
right,
charge,
right.
there's not a whole lot there. So I mean, the conservative estimate of 2.3% growth every year is great. It's just hard to estimate what's going to happen.
So what you're saying is, the real question is, are we planning on bringing a larger amount of industrial growth than what we've had built into, or baked into the model? Is that correct?
Yeah.
But the contract that we're signing is for 25 years.
Correct.
This spreadsheet goes out 16 years and it's already in red. Based on that, it's probably the next 10 years is also red.
It'll only get worse.
Yeah,
We're already gonna have to do something else.
right.
All we did was push this out further and further. So the real question, I guess, would be, Gons, obviously we have to do something for 2037, 2038-ish. Do we have any reasonable options if that's pulled into 2031, 2032? Because we have to do it eventually anyway, right? Even with GRDA out 25 years. So if we're gonna have to come up with something else and it's reasonable that it plus a like 4.5 GRDA that brings our needs sooner, the overall cost might be less over 25 years. But I don't know what other options are in 5 years.
So right now, if we want to get a PPA from, let's say, Nexera, they will only give you a 7-year PPA. And it's between 2025 and 2032. 2032, I think. They will not go beyond 2032 because there is a lot of concern with the data centers, solar, AI, so nobody wants to really give you a 25-year contract with all those variables right now, except
They want us to make a
GRDA.
decision on 25
Correct.
contract.
Yep.
Renee, can you go back to option A?
I can do it.
Please, or not? I just want to refresh my understanding. So that saves us 3 years. Or if you go to the 9, you get 3 more years of capacity that you
Correct.
feel reasonable about. What was the difference in cost between the 4.5 and the 9?
I don't have the actual numbers, but should be half of,
Will it-
so
it'll
be
actually
1.85.
But that's not a delta from what we're actually paying today, right?
That's the, which number?
In the sense of, we are already have a contract with them.
Correct.
We've already paid this. We could have seen, had we had made a different, had there been a different decision made in 2025, or 2005, right? We could have potentially saved, I forget which number was, 600K?
No, that was just 5 years. Right?
Or is that this 3 million?
So if we look at the past, only past 5 years, we could have saved on the day ahead 5 million.
5 billion in 5 years.
$1 million a year.
That's a lot harder to plan and budget for, because you could save it. You could have also spent.
Gons, put your crystal, look into your crystal ball. What do you see the rates and demands, rates and what the grid's gonna do over the next 5 to 15 years? What do you see
I couldn't tell you, but I know there's a lot of uncertainty between 2027 and 2032. That's why you cannot get a PPA longer than 7 years.
So, Gons and Matt, if you look back over this, let's say the 5 years, we have what it would have saved us. But what would it have had done to us with the spike in 21 and 22 if we didn't have the reserves? Right? Because we're whittling those down slowly but surely now by eliminating our extra fee before. So if we were like many municipalities across the country and did not have our excess sitting in the piggy bank, and 21 hits again, how would that have looked for us? How would we have reacted?
It would have been a lot more difficult. And I think what he's also showing, we also had a spike on the gas side. Dogwood, I think is gas power.
Correct. That was in 2021. We had the polar vortex, and that froze all the gas wells, so there was no gas available. So everybody was scrambling to generate, and nobody could.
I think one man on the pole.
Which Dogwood, we don't get energy from so much, we get money because we bought it to the plant.
And on Dogwood, they have a prepay agreement that they can get cheaper gas on the prepay terms. So that was done after the Uri event.
When you look at the winter event, if you add up all the different costs we had, it was about $7 million. Compared to our fund balance, back then it was around 13 million.
Right. I remember we had it, we were very lucky we were fortunate to be what we were. So, you look at another 10 years and we're gonna have spent down our balance. Now we don't have that luxury, we don't have that, oh, hey, we
Push.
have this backup just in case. So then that kind of forces you to have a better contract that guarantees you safety. But at the same time, you don't wanna overpay $8 million for a contract in 5 years.
One thing that might help you is also we ended 2024 on balance of not. So we're already substantial.
Yeah.
And ultimately, I guess I'm looking at it, the difference between 9 and 4.5 is what, a year?
3.
Is it that many?
It was 3. I mean, 27 to 2024, or 37 to 34.
Okay. I mean, we're still gonna have to make a decision. Well
Exactly.
before that.
Exactly.
It does buy us 3 years extra capacity for anything that comes in or wants to come in.
Can we see graph C again?
Now, most, I will say, all of the municipalities, they have gone with the GRDA extension because of what KMA recommended.
So KMA recommended, the Utilities Commission recommended.
Okay, so through 4. I'm sorry, what was that?
I was gonna say KMEA recommended the 9.
Yep.
Yeah. And the Utility Commission recommended the 9. Although there's only 3, I just looked through the notes, there's only 3 of them recommendations. But,
If you flip to the 9,
That's 9. Now, the other thing that UAC said, if you have excess capacity, you can always sell it to the other municipalities. And that's what we're doing now. However, we're only getting like 2.25 instead of 10.5.
$10.
Who knows if that might change? I mean, I guess I see it as instead of us putting the money into the bank, we're putting the money into this savings account.
Yes,
Maybe.
but I would love for it to not be going into the bank either, it could just stay in our pockets.
Well,
Right, so,
pockets
I mean,
of our
that's,
citizens.
You can't have all the above.
Yeah, I mean,
well, that's where we're at right now.
why was the packet sent out was the recommendation of 4.5 then? Or is that just a suggested?
That was my recommendation from the utilities director. KMA has always been recommending 9.
So wait, as a utility director, you recommend 4.5, but the UAC and the KMEA recommended the 9?
Correct.
But all that really is, correct me if I'm wrong, is you're saying that those 3 years of capacity, since we already have to address it anyway, you don't think it's worth the dollars.
Correct, that's my position.
Right. I'm inclined to agree.
okay.
Because no advice is 3 years.
And then, I mean, you're looking at, 27, 28, 29, I mean, we're at 18, 16, 15 megawatts of extra capacity.
But does it buy us more options when we're looking at our other options because we have more capacity, so we can look at options that maybe don't have as much capacity or things like that?
Yes.
Or does it give us, as well, in Casey's point, does it give us the ability to attract more industry manufacturing or residents to the town where we have the ability to use up that?
I don't think this contract would impact whether or not somebody's coming or not.
No, I understand that, Mark, but what I'm saying is, we have the capacity. That's something that we can use to market our,
But I guess I'm saying, if we have this capacity, we're paying for this capacity, so it's gonna be reflected in
Right.
our rates anyway. So anybody who's coming in is gonna factor that into their analysis.
When do we have to have this decision by?
So we have until March 31st to tell KMEA which way the city decided.
But I guess what other information are we looking to get?
Well, I mean, this is just a lot of numbers to have seen for the first time tonight and make a decision on. If we could have a,
Yeah, I'd be okay with tabling it, looking at it next meeting.
and then getting this presentation via email or whatever, and being able to fully digest the numbers, go through it, make some
I
thoughts.
think
there's no cost, there's no, there's no cost number tied to this motion or anything. I mean, it's just,
I'm just approving the contract for X dollars or Y dollars.
Do we have the time to do it?
no, I don't disagree with you.
Do I think that anything's drastically going to change between now and then?
No, but it might give us
You gotta think about it.
more time to digest it, yeah. Particularly when we're not,
I'm not the marks, and I don't see a spreadsheet and immediately retain all the information.
I don't know that we should be like, put together like that.
I would be inclined to at least table it to the next meeting, I think. Just give us a little bit more time to digest it. If it's not required right away.
Yeah.
Is there any issue with that? Have thoughts? Is that acceptable?
Yeah, we have until March 31st, so.
So is there a consensus then to table? So I do have a motion to table.
So moved.
Second.
Motion Baldwin, second Deaton. We table new business item number 3. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstain?
And can you email this presentation out to us, please?
Yes. And then we'll move it to the March 3rd meeting.
Correct,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
17.
Thank you.
Yeah, it does. Because we didn't specify.
Okay. New business item number 4, consider a resolution establishing compensation for the governing body pursuant to Gardner Municipal Code, section 2.10.010.
This will be a little easier math for everyone. So late last year, we established new pay rates for the governing body. There was a provision in there to establish annual increases. The proposed resolution adjusts the annual compensation by 2% annually, which is consistent with what we do with people that are top of range, the salary range for employees. This would be retroactive to January 1st of this year, and then each year thereafter, it will be on January 1st. Recommendation is to adopt a resolution establishing compensation for governing body pursuant to the Gardner Municipal Code.
Is there any public comment for new business item 4? Any council questions?
I think the only thing that I thought in looking at this was if we wanted to put that it has to come back up every 3 years, 5 years, something like that. It just seemed like it being unlimited.
So
I don't know.
let me throw out 2 things for that. I like the idea. The problem is we can't bind a future council with the decision.
All you can do is let it expire and see if they want to bring it back up.
And the reason that when we brought this up, I think the general consensus was, hey, so that we don't have to go 10 years and then go, hey, we should have raised this, that it should just be baked in. And obviously we screwed it up. So I think it should be. What we probably ought to do, to your point though, is Matt, could that be something that you remember to bring up as a point or something during budget sessions to say, hey, by the way, we still have this in here, when we're looking for rabbits coming out of the hat to save some money, that type of thing. Because every budget, obviously is yearly.
I mean, it's not a huge amount of money. I mean, we're top of range. Remember?
It's really a COLA, right?
But that does keep it from getting 12 years behind and then a big bump, and then
I-
12 years behind and then a big bump.
I understand that. That was the only piece that I thought was,
Yeah.
and I don't know how to put that in the notes.
We can address that during budget discussion.
Yes, I mean, we could
I
always
think so.
agree to not do it that year, whatever, right? So, but then that lets every body, I guess, have that choice.
And the next governing body can bring this up if they want and do something
discussion? Is there a motion then?
So moved.
Second.
Motion Deaton, second McNair, we adopt resolution 2165, resolution establishing compensation for the governing body pursuant to Gardner Municipal Code, section 2.10.010. City Clerk.
Councilmember McNair.
Yes.
Councilmember Baldwin.
Yes.
Councilmember Deaton.
Yes.
Councilmember Ween.
Yes.
Resolution 2165 passes. That concludes. That concludes regular items. So we'll move to council updates. Captain, we can start with you. You've been kind of quiet over there so far.
We've had a pretty busy month so far at the police department. We're a little over halfway through our Axon project. So all of our entry rooms have new camera systems and our body worn cameras went live last week. The California guys are supposed to be here tomorrow to install our cars, so they're really excited for the snowstorm.
On that.
And we had 3 officers begin the police academy last Monday. Another certified is starting the road, hitting the road tomorrow, just field training. And then we have 2 COEs that were accepted this week. So hopefully we'll have them on board in about 4 weeks. That gets us really close to our staffing goals, so we're pretty excited.
Where are we on staffing wise?
I knew you were gonna ask me that, and I don't know exact numbers, but I think it puts us within 1 and 2 of our goal.
Good. Thank you. City Clerk.
I didn't have anything.
Finance, man.
My staff's been really busy wrapping up the financial year end, and I should have a financial year end presentation for you next meeting.
City Attorney.
Nothing from me.
Public Works, Kellen.
Nothing from me.
Community Development, Dave.
Planning Commission will meet next Monday, February 24th at 7 PM in these chambers. That's it for me.
All right. Collins Utilities.
The Allied Power Group arrived last week, Monday, to inspect and upgrade gas turbine number 2. So they have removed the rotor and they shipped it to Virginia, I believe, to do the upgrade. So far everything looks pretty good. Supposed to have the unit back in service before May.
Very good, thank you. Jim?
So for the budget retreat, we will have obviously a budget overview, CIP projects and things of that nature. Then we'll discuss budget priorities that the governing body has. Is there anything else specific to the budget that members of the governing body want us to put on the agenda and cover?
Doesn't appear to be. And if they do think of something in the next few days.
Yeah, just email me.
Okay.
We will have a revision for the sidewalk snow ordinance at the next meeting. In the meantime, just like the last snow, we did clear Center Street on the east side from Madison to Main, and we do have a proposal. We had to do some ordinance revisions and things of that nature, but we'll have that for the next one. So I had to put together what the safe routes to school was, what we are doing as a city to clear those paths and kind of piece all that together. So we'll have that.
Thank you. Councilman McNair?
Nothing.
Councilman Ween?
Just like to thank everybody who took the time to return their ballots for the sales tax election, and appreciate them putting thought into it, everybody out in the audience.
Council Vice President?
Ditto on the ballots. That was it.
Okay. Council President?
Jim's mention of the ordinance, he needs a shout out because I wrote him about it, and he had already taken it upon himself to decide to clear the east side of Center Street. Didn't even have to ask. So thank you for that. And I was going to bring up tonight that if we had that ordinance to look at with the routes, that we should consider, where school paths are and so forth, not just major roads. Sounds like you're doing that, so kudos again. That's all I got.
Very good. And I don't have anything further. So I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion Deep, second McNair. We adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstained? Adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Good luck.